Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two pals recap romance novels at their very first live show. Oh yes, you're getting the recording of Heaving Bosoms' first live performance at Love's Sweet Arrow. But more on that in a second. HBs, this announcement is a hard one, but you know you can always count on me to tell you a little too much. Hashtag TMI with Melody. The past 5 months haven't been easy, and I did what I normally do when things go sideways, which is carry on while white-knuckling and doing jazz hands and pushing my feelings so far down that the Marianas Trench would be impressed. So, for the next couple of months, the main Heaving Bosoms feed is going on a short hiatus. Never fear, patrons. One thing I am loving is recapping The One That Got Away with Naima, so nothing is changing with Patreon. There will still be new episodes, super cool authors at book club like Erin Sterling in October, and way more. I haven't decided what to recap after The One That Got Away, so if you have suggestions, don't be shy. Slide right into my DMs, especially if you've read some good novellas lately. I might pop into the feed every once in a while, but for the foreseeable future, you can find new Heaving Bosoms content on our Patreon. The past 4 years have been a phenomenal but non-stop adventure. I think the break is going to allow us all at HBHQ to recharge, regroup, and come back better than ever. Now, I can't think of a better way to say see you soon than Nat and Sara being amazing in front of our first live audience. They celebrated Bookstore Romance Day in the best way possible, surrounded by HBs. So, here's their recap of Halfway to the Grave by Jeaniene Frost. 1,
2,
3, 4,
5,
6,
7.
No, I said we're going to 6.
I don't take directions well.
Hi, Sarah, we're here in front of this audience.
Natalie, we're here in front of this audience.
It's kind of bizarre. We were trying to, when we were getting ready for this event, we were talking about like, okay, well, we need to have like headphones, or we need to have like a Zoom. And we're like,
do we have internet access?
No.
Wait, we're going to be in the same room with each other.
We're going to be literally looking into each other's eyes while we're recording these, so we don't need any of that
hold
shit.
hands. Let's not.
I know. You know what?
Weird, but we could.
I'm getting sweatier by the minute.
By the
so
end of
like
this.
it's
Damp? Are you damp? Oh my
I'm
God!
damp.
That's not
I'm damp and not in a sexy way. Welcome, everybody. We are here at Love's Sweet Arrow in Tinley Park, Illinois, which is one of 2 romance-centric bookshops in the United States. Yes, yeah, that is. And it's Bookstore Romance Day, which is a celebration of romance, the romance genre in bookstores all throughout the United States, and maybe internationally.
Let's go internationally.
I know of at least one Canadian event.
There it is.
So we're going to go internationally. And we're excited to be here. We have famous authors here in attendance, which is very exciting. And we have some giveaways that we will have at the end. We have merch from Chickaloo Kate. We have merch from Chickaloo Kate. We have merch from Kiss and Let Me Tell You, mugs and stickers and magnets, pencils. So those are exciting. Thank you to Chickaloo Kate and to Kiss and Let Me Tell You for providing that merch for us to give away. And then we're also going to recap a book.
We are going to recap a book. I have a visual aid.
This is an audio medium.
Okay. Listener, I'm holding up a paperback that I purchased, and I can tell you exactly when, because I went to the Amazon page to share the link as we were advertising this event, and Amazon helpfully said, you purchased this book on October 18th, 2007. Amazon remembers that far back. And it was when, and I'm going to take you, listen, we all have issues with Jeff Bezos, right? Like, that's just, let's say that. But it was when Amazon was getting into the book space, and they were having 4 paperbacks for the price price of 3. So my sales
They were
history,
really trying to make it as a bookseller.
that
Amazon
purchase was a large one because I was like, that they're giving me a free paperback for all right, let's do this. And I ordered all the paperbacks, and this was one of them. So this has been sitting on my shelf, unaware that at some point I would pull it out, read it in 2022, and say, oh, this has not aged well.
Because you read it, right?
I read it in 2007. I enjoyed it. I like a badass urban fantasy heroine. I like a vampire who bones. And in this case, his name is actually...
His name is Bones. Yeah, it was... and in
That's what we call a transition.
That was a nice job. That was a really good job. It's like you do this as part of your job. So this book was a lot of things. One of the things it was Spike and Buffy fan fiction. I have never been able to picture a hero more clearly in my brain than I could picture James Marsters as
Bones. The hero. I'm curious, in the audience, how many of you have seen Buffy? Make noise because it's an audio medium.
Hey, there it is.
So when I tell you that this hero is described as having hollows in his cheeks, sharp cheekbones, dark eyebrows,
platinum
bleach
blonde hair. Yep.
He is British. He has he calls her love. I haven't done a search on my Kindle, but it has to be like 600 times.
Okay.
So this is Spike. This is Spike.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Love it. Love it. Yes.
Actually, and it wasn't Spike and Buffy because she's not Buffy. Yeah. Buffy not.
Would never.
Yeah, Buffy would not go some of the places that. Wow, I just already forgot her name.
It's Cat.
Oh, yeah, Kitten, Cat, Catherine. Kathy.
Do you know that her full name is Catherine Kathleen Caulfield?
Who in the fuck is naming their child Catherine Kathleen?
She's Kathy Caulfield.
Kathy. I don't know who would be doing that.
Well, it's Jeaniene Frost. The author is Jeaniene Frost.
Well, Jeaniene Frost did do it. Yeah. And I feel, okay, so like, no hate to Jeaniene Frost.
She's lovely. She's a lovely woman. She's a lovely author. We do not know her.
She doesn't live here, and part of me was like, I did look up, like, is there a chance she's in Chicago? Could she see this and then go, oh, I'm going to go? And then I would be like, no. She lives in Maryland, I checked. She could be vacationing. I don't know.
I low-jacked her vehicle. It's where she is right now. It's fine. It's fine.
Bones would do that.
Well, so as we're doing this, do you want to talk about some of the content warnings?
Yeah, we do need to do some content warnings right off the bat. And if we had been more prepared, we would have maybe told you about these so that if these were not, and giving you the opportunity to prioritize yourself on this. But in this book, there is off-page sexual assault that's historical in nature. There's on-page descriptions of kidnapping and allusions to sexual assault in the present. There's on-page drugging with the intention of sexual assault. There is slut shaming, and there is sex trafficking that is that the term is used, white slavery, to describe sex trafficking. So this book is not going to be for everybody. Mm-hmm. This book is, I think, if I was reading this book for any other reason, I would have stopped reading this book.
Concur. And it was interesting to me because, like I said, I bought this book in 2007. I read it. I own several of the books in the series. I think 2007 wasn't that long ago, but it was a while ago in terms of some of our language and our usage and our sensitivities and our not every female character needs a tragic backstory tied to sexual assault to make her interesting and relevant, right? So, I'm not saying this as any kind of shade to the author at all. You know, standards change, the way we talk about things change, the way we structure our stories change, and I also struggle with a heroine a little bit in the first half of the book, I would say, but she evolves over the series, and I will admit I've not read the newest Jeaniene Frost books, the ones that she's putting out in the last couple of years. I'd love to see how her writing and her characters have evolved because I think there's a lot of good here I have to believe that if this was out in 2022, she would be talking about trafficking. That's the word that she would use. Right. Because we know now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, 100%. And I think...
this is going to be funny.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not. I mean, we're going to intend for it to be funny. This is a comedy podcast. So one of the things that this book... Well, I think that this book brings to light a lot of things that we've seen in past writing by men and women, sometimes currently by men, is that using women as a tool, and using the assault of women and violence against women as a tool to move a story forward is something that is used quite often. And it drives me kind of up the wall that it had to be women in every part of this. There was not one part where a man was victimized in this book.
Correct. Well, there is a lot of murdered men in this book.
Well, yeah, but like by women.
They deserved it, so, you know.
They were probably deserving.
No, they legitimately were. Like, yeah, the ones who died, we won't get into it, but. Yeah.
So that, it was just very glaring that it was only women that were used as tools to move this story along and as plot devices. And I just used those words like I knew what they meant.
No, you nailed it.
I am not an author, but
but it's very much in line with the victim of the week TV shows. You know, like every TV show that has a serial killer who only targets women. I mean, it's very similar to that. Can we? Like, is everybody CW'd?
Yeah. We can move past the CWs if everybody's cool with that and start jumping into the plot. I think that was all I wanted to say.
Yeah, that was good. You
great. Okay, great.
Okay.
I did write that down because I wanted to make sure that I included everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we open on this book, you are only in Kat's perspective for this whole book.
It's all first-person POV with our heroine Kat, as we've covered. Kathleen.
Kathy. And she uses different names depending on what situation she puts herself in.
The weirdest is when somebody calls her Kathy. It's very strange. She prefers Kat. Catherine is a little bit more.
Kathy's her school name.
Kathy is her school name.
She was when she's a college kid, just a typical college kid.
I've been
fighting vampires.
I've been a college professor for years now, and I don't think I've ever had a Kathy.
A Kathy?
I don't think I've ever had a Kathy.
Sorry if you're Kathy out
My
there.
stepmom is Kathy. Kathy is a lovely name, but she's not a college student. So
Kathys are allowed to go to college. So it's not like oh, I'm on the admissions process.
I just got canceled tonight. No education for Kathys.
Yeah. Kathy, feel free to apply to college.
I'm going to fund a scholarship at this point because I feel bad.
Kathy's only. Kathy's C's or K's.
Both.
Either one.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah. What if she was Kathy, C, and K? Oh, no, she is.
She is.
Kathy's.
It's Kathy Kathleen.
Kathy C, Kathy K. All right, never mind. I'm moving on. When we first meet our heroine, she is transporting a dead body.
She sure is, and she gets pulled over by an officer of the law who's all, "What you got in that truck?"
Yeah, exactly. He's got the beer belly,
the
buckle,
the bolt, like the creaking belt with all the
buckle shuffle.
Oh, and I also think we need to point out. Do you remember the name of her town?
Nope.
It is Licking Falls.
Oh God, yeah. I was really hoping for that to come back. I remember reading it and being like, "Oh yes." Cross your fingers for innuendo.
There are some characters who make some of the worst innuendo I've ever read on page, and nobody does Licking Falls.
Yeah. Speaking of damp.
Nobody was speaking of damp.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I wish.
So she gets pulled over. She has a vampire dead in the truck. And here's where we start to learn her history. She is a half vampire. Her mother was raped by a vampire. 5 months later, gave birth to Kat, who has some abilities that have become a little bit more prominent as she's gotten into her teenage years. And what's really hard to hear at this point is the way the town treated her mother, who was the victim of this assault, and then have treated her as the daughter, the illegitimate daughter of a sexual assault survivor. And everybody, there's a lot of slut shaming of the mother, of the daughter. The apple doesn't fall far from the slutty tree. It's a lot of...
Yeah, and she's weird.
And she's a weirdo because she knows her mother, her upbringing is such that her mother never lets her forget who she is and what half of her DNA is. And her grandparents sure never let her mother or Kat forget what happened to them. And it's not, so she's not in the best, she needed some therapy.
Yeah.
She did not get therapy in Licking Falls.
Everyone in this book needs therapy.
Everybody in this book needs therapy.
Yeah. Licking Falls doesn't have a very abundant mental health.
A thriving mental health community is not part of 2007 Licking Falls. So the police officer actually says, like, "Oh, you're her daughter, and you've been out sleeping around like your ma."
Yeah. It's bad.
Rough.
Yeah. and she's I had a really hard time figuring out how old she was.
She's 22.
Yeah, she is
allegedly.
Mentally, I don't know, but physically, she is 22. She is not like, and basically, what her thing that she does is she does something during the day. Doesn't work, or no, maybe she waitresses. I don't know. She does something during the day, and then almost every night she goes out and tries to get vampires to think they're gonna sleep with her, and then she murders them.
So she goes to club and she picks up, and she does it. I love this. The first time we see her in a club, she walks up to a vampire and says, "Hey, you want to screw me?
You want to?" Well, I think she just says, "You want to screw." I don't even think she says screw, and I think she does like a one finger drag down the arm. Yeah.
Okay. I can touch Natalie when we're doing this. It's weird.
We do see each other in person, so this isn't like the first time we've ever seen each other in person, but like this is the first time we've recorded next to each other.
That's true.
It's not weird at all.
So she gets out of this interaction with the cop, who is willing to let her go. He does not explore the back of the truck, discover the vampire body. She buries the vampire body. The next night, she's back at the club, asking if anybody wants to screw.
Duh club, yep.
And she is blown off by a blonde vampire. He has, stay with me, hollow cheeks, cheekbones to die for, dark eyebrows, a British accent. And he blows her off. So she goes out, she takes a vampire named Kevin home.
Yeah.
Murders Kevin. R.I.P. Kevin.
Yeah, no justice for Kevin, though.
No
I think he's
justice
doing
for
fine.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Buries him where she's burying all her vampires. I will say, these vampires do not turn to dust. The vampires who turn to dust are so much more polite and thoughtful to the Slayers community. These guys just desiccate to the point of their real age. So if you're a 20-year-old vampire, you're going to look
pretty soggy,
gross.
yeah.
But if you're a 300-year-old vampire, you're going to look real bad real
like
fast.
A skeleton. Yeah, so there's a lot of vampire AU that happens, I feel like, in this. Like, according to like everything we've seen on TV, that's not what happens here. This... Like Jeaniene Frost has developed like a whole vampire world. She's got all sorts of like rules and criteria and things that happen, and Bones tells us all about them as we go along.
Lengthy monologues.
Oh,
These people have never met a full paragraph they don't want to fill up with text. They're going to explain everything. But yeah, so the Jeaniene Frost vampires can eat, but they don't have to, but they don't really like it. They can go out in sunlight. They don't have to sleep. You know, it's just...
They only breathe once a day.
If they want to.
Yeah.
Every vampire universe has its own rules and mythology, and this one's not wildly different than some of them, but they're just, you have to know the details of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Their bodily fluids are pink. This will come back later.
Yes. All bodily fluids.
All.
Well, actually, I don't know about urine.
Fluids. Oh, we didn't cover urine.
Do they urinate?
Actually, there is a bathroom scene. Kat has to use the bathroom, and I was just like, oh my God, a heroine who actually is like...
Yes, she has to like hover over a waterfall.
Yeah, it's bad. I wouldn't like that.
I mean, she didn't seem to mind.
I don't camp for a reason, and that's...
Yeah.
So the next night, she's back at the club, and so is this blonde hottie. And this time, she actually says... You want to fuck?
Yeah.
She says, I really, really want to get it on.
She bolsters herself to say
the F word for, I think, the first time.
Yeah.
She's had a very, very, she's a weirdo. She's a loner. She has these kind of super, I get a sense, like religious, like super.
I would get, her grandparents are, because remember the whole scene where they were like, she has been consorting with the devil.
I sure do. So this blonde vampire agrees to go with her. He asks her name. She says Cat Raven, and he says Kitten Tweety, like Raven, Tweety, Tweety Bird. It works better on the page.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It really does.
Yeah.
Somehow she uses the word groin twice on page 12.
She also refers to him as a bastard, which is the filthiest word she can think of.
Well, she's probably been called that her whole life, so honestly.
But like, I can think of a lot of words.
Were you raised by religious grandparents who think you're the devil because your mom?
Okay. I wasn't. But
I'm glad because if you were, that would have been a really awkward way to.
That makes you want to find more filthy words.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
I don't know, maybe not.
So this vampire gets in her truck, and her MO is to get them out of the truck someplace isolated.
Remote.
Make them think that she's gonna, get it on.
In the woods.
And then she just, right in the chest.
with her wood on the outside, silver on the inside stake.
Because in this universe, wood is not enough. It has to be silver. So they think they see a wooden stake and they're not scared, and they see a human girl and they're not scared. And it turns out she's half vampire. She has silver in the stake. She's actually got a pretty good vampire killing system down for a 22-year-old who's super
she's
sheltered.
been doing it since she was 16.
She has. She has. But this vampire is not playing along. He does not want to get out of the truck. He's like, love having sex in a truck. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, shit, how am I gonna like maneuver this? So she kind of starts to take her pants off, and he's unzipping, and then he just punches her in the head, and she wakes up chained to a wall in a cave.
Yes. Yeah. So Bones.
It happens fast.
Yeah. All this. Things just really start to move really quickly after
interest.
that. Yeah. This is a meet cute. So Bones, who is a 200.
Can I say something? I feel like a 200-year-old vampire isn't that old. It's old. Don't get me wrong. It's older than all of us.
It's older than me,
I assume.
Yeah.
And so it's, he was around for all kinds of. He's younger than the United States. So to me, that isn't. She's just like he's just impossibly old. I mean,
I don't know.
He was around for railroads. I don't know.
She's also like impossibly immature.
Impossibly. Listen. I am not one of those, I hate a difficult heroine. Authors, people who don't like your heroines because they're just a little bit challenging. It's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
And there are actually authors in the audience, so I was actually able to make eye contact. I'm not one of those people who's just like, she was a little whiny, she was a little assertive. I just didn't. No. I loved Darcy and 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. Like I would ride or die for her. Kat worked my last nerve.
Especially in this first half, and we found out later. I read there's an author note at the end of at least the ebook.
Not this one.
The ebook that she says that she actually rewrote the first half of this book multiple times and the first chapter multiple times. And she said that she had started this off as a YA, like urban fantasy book.
Like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, as a 16-year-old. And she started off and she said that was a tough sell. And so we think that she changed some parts of it.
But some of the characterization stays pretty young, and she does grow and evolve. And I love a heroine who grows and evolves. We all do. That's why we read it. We read it for these characters to change together and separately, right?
Yeah.
And so Kat definitely does. But early on, it's rough going. She is very young, and I was complaining about it. I was complaining to Natalie, and she said, remember how she was raised. She was raised with these repressive parents and ostracized, and so I tried to keep that in mind. But it really does become.
Yeah.
But so anyway, she wakes up in a cave.
But imagine being a 200-year-old vampire and you have many dollars and you are living in a cave.
Stealing electricity.
Now, it's 2007. The internet existed.
It did.
He has a computer. Where does he get Wi-Fi?
What kind of Wi-Fi would have penetrated a cave wall in 2007?
Penetrated a cave.
I said penetrated. That's sexier than the sexy talk in here.
But I'm like, why? Why is that the choice? I get why it's remote. You can't hear him. Like vampires can't hear him because vampires have really good hearing. You can hear through walls. You can hear from far away. Blah blah blah. But
we find out the cave was gifted to him. We'll get to it. All right.
There's so many bad things, but it's it's okay.
So Kat wakes up in this cave and she's just like, I will fight you.
Yeah.
I will fight you for my freedom. Just immediately. And I appreciate that about her. If I woke up chained in a cave, I'd be like, well, been a good run. But Kat's just ready to go. And what Bones wants to know is, who's hired you to kill me?
Yeah.
Who sent you after me? What are you doing? And so he is just fully convinced that she is come to destroy him. And she had, to be fair, she just doesn't work for anybody. Yeah. She's a freelancer.
She has such a good system down that he has, just like all of the other vampires that she's killed, he thinks there's no way that she could be working on her own, doing this on her own. And it only, like, after really trying to convince him and then having to actually fight him, does she convince him that, no, it was all me. And I don't remember what it was.
It was the eyes.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's getting ready to kill her.
He's getting ready to kill her. And one thing that marks vampires in this universe is their eyes glow emerald green. Mm-hmm. Emerald green. And so as she's getting ready to, fight or die, basically she's chained to a wall, her eyes glow green because when she's upset, scared, angry, and that's when he steps back and is like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he wasn't expecting her to have the vampire eyes.
Yeah.
And so when she challenges him to a fight, he's kind of like, all right, I don't know what you are, but let's do this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So they fight. How do you think it goes for Kat?
Well, they make a deal that if she beats him, then she gets to go away.
Kill him?
Something. But anyway, it doesn't happen that way. And if he wins, she has to work and help him catch these other vampires.
And she is pretty sure she can beat this vampire in hand-to-hand combat.
But that's when you're like, okay, you're truly a teen, because truly only a teen would be like, yeah, I got this.
Guess what? She does not got this.
Yeah, no, she does not got it.
She basically wakes up in his bed. He has beaten her so badly that he knocks her out and he puts her to bed. And she freaks. Naturally, she's awake. She's in bed with this vampire. She's sheltered. She freaks out. And it's just like, I'm not sleeping in here with you. I'm not sleeping. And he was like, fine, here's the sheet. Take the floor. And she does. I kind of love that about Bones. He wasn't like, I'll be the gentleman, I'll sleep. But he was just like, nah, man, you tried to kill me. You offered to fight me. I beat you fair and square. You don't want to be in my bed? All right, I'll give you a sheet. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, HBs. I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need, because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter, with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend, check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
And so then she wakes up, and this is one of many times that she accuses him of raping her.
One of many times that she's like, what did you do while I was sleeping? He was like, listen, look at this.
Yeah.
I do not need that. Like, all of my partners are willing. I would never do that. But she is real fast with those accusations with this poor man.
Yeah.
Poor vampire who,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then we get a description of every way that vampires are different from humans, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to know about them?
Please.
So they cannot be decapitated, or decapitation does work because nothing can live without a head, but usually you wouldn't be able to decapitate a vampire without like debilitating them in some way first.
Sure.
They only breathe about once an hour for preference, but they can go indefinitely without oxygen. What does for preference mean?
I don't know. Why would you prefer to breathe? I don't know.
Speed, vision, hearing, smell, physical strength. They're all superior to humans. They can sense you long before they can see you, and they can hear your heartbeat from a mile away. And some of them have some form of mind control, like the big ones. Nosferatu gets brought up a lot in this book.
Yes.
But the ones that are like steeped, aged Nosferatu, what do they call it? Fermented Nosferatu. It's like that's how they refer to it a bunch of times. Those ones have more powers. The older you are, the more powerful you are. The stronger you are, the faster you are, the better you are at everything.
But at the same time, this is also the same chapter that has one of my favorite parts of getting to know Bones. He says, all right, you're going to work. You lost fair and square. You're going to work for me. So you're going to help me kill these vampires. You don't need to know why. You're just going to help me. She agrees. And so he explains to her how he was on to her. You know, how did he know not to get out of the truck? And he says, why do you think I made you drive? I had you pegged 5 seconds after speaking with you. And then he explains the reason he won is he fights dirty. He says, clean, gentlemanly fighting will get you nowhere but dead. Take every cheap shot, every low blow, kick people when they're down. Maybe you'll be the one who walks away. And I kind of like that note in a character. You know, cheap shots aren't great in life, but if you're a vampire and you're fighting to survive, and he wants his half vampire, half human apprentice to survive, so fight dirty. I just love that Bones character note. So we get a lot of exposition about vampire strengths and weaknesses. She explains her story. We get more of the my mom thinks I'm a monster, my grandparents think I'm a monster, the kids at school were mean to me, and then he negs her appearance.
Yes. It is like...
He says, listen, if you're going to help me, we got to do something about this, because the baggy jeans and the mediocre appearance, no ma'am.
You wouldn't know sexy if it bit you in the arse.
Arse is important.
Yeah. The audiobook...
So guess what?
Yeah.
Makeover.
Oh, yeah. There's like a really nice... Well, not yet, but there is a really nice makeover montage that happens.
Did you need to explain the audio?
What?
You started to say the audio.
Oh, the audiobook. I was like, the audio. This is, okay. I got it. The audiobook is a woman that is like an accent like me. And she does a men's British accent. And this book is written as if you looked up what are British slang words on Google and just peppered them throughout this whole book multiple times over.
Bloody hell, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Love. He talks about farthings, which like the euro existed in 2007. Like what?
Didn't exist in 1800.
I know. Why are we talking about farthings? I don't give half a farthing. Like, how much is that?
He's an old British dude.
How much is that in euros, though?
I will slap you in the face. I do not know. I was unprepared for that. I'm so prepared for so many things, but what is the farthing to euro conversion? I was not ready.
You know, I mean, it's relevant to this book, is all I'm saying. So the audio is, it's an interesting listen. There's also some other not great accents that are done in this book, but
her cat voice is great. I will say when she's
she's not talking about a feline cat.
She meows for a whole chapter and it's wonderful.
Her cat voice is fine.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the graveyard now, and we're gonna pick this up a little bit. So
we're in chapter 4, everyone.
There are 27 chapters.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna pause for 2 intermissions. It's fine. So Bone says women are disappearing in the area, and I can't find records of them. So I'm gonna take you to the graveyard, and you're gonna talk to a ghost, and he's gonna tell you who has died. And she's like, hold up, ghost?
Yeah.
And so he explains that in Ohio, because we're in Licking Creek, Ohio, I don't think we mentioned the state.
Licking Falls.
Sorry.
It's because Ohio has a thinner membrane for separating the natural from the supernatural. What's happening in Ohio?
What is anybody from Ohio here?
Yeah.
Because I have questions about your membrane.
Are you okay?
Ohio, baby, are you okay? So he gives her a bottle of moonshine, and he sends her to the graveyard to talk to a ghost named Winston, who makes her drink the whiskey. And as she's drinking the whiskey, he dives into her throat and enjoys the moonshine by diving through her throat.
And just like I'm just picturing the 3 evil ghosts from Casper during that scene where they're having the breakfast. You know that one?
No, I have not seen Casper.
Excuse me?
I will wait in the car.
Yeah, jeez.
But thank you. Liz is waving. No, thank you. So he is willing, because she's drinking the moonshine real good. Sorry about that. He's willing to tell her, yeah, this person disappeared. She was 26. This happened. This person, and he's given her names. He's giving her ages. And so it confirmed. There are a lot of women who've gone missing who haven't really made the news, don't really know about it. And then this ghost dives into her pants. Yeah. And it's kind of passed off as like a ha 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 ha. She was like, I didn't appreciate you getting in my panties. And it wasn't fun.
It was done as an anecdote on the side, and it was like, and it was basically like the expectation was that they would go back at some point to do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then she's trashed.
Yeah, so the one thing that is a little inconsistent with this is she can drink alcohol and she's fine. So that's how she gets vampires at the club. She drinks a lot and she pretends to be just sloshed, but she's not because she's half vampire, so her system can handle it. And so they're surprised when she's just like, it's kind of Promising Young Woman, except not, because there's no vampires in that. But the moonshine gets her.
Yeah.
And Bones, when he's like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to
it's
sip
on the
it.
page. Bloody hell.
Thank you. He was like, you were supposed to sip it. You weren't supposed to drink the whole thing of moonshine. That you would, if you were human, you'd be dead. And she was just like, nah, I'm just drunk. So,
and she does tell him that he's pretty, then he does tell her that she is the most beautiful girl he's ever seen. Yeah. So like, you're starting to get hints that like there's more to this relationship than meets the eye.
For Bones, anyway. Well, yeah, and she thinks he's pretty too, but she still is definitely accusing him of like
because he's James Marsters.
Yeah,
so
what are you
of
doing?
Course he is.
So now we come to the makeover.
Miss Congeniality makeover time. She's plucked. She's waxed.
She's shaved.
manicured.
She's curled. She's primped. She's
Miss United States.
She's beauty and she's grace. She probably does fall off her heels once or twice.
Yep.
At one point, she describes a bright green and silver dress.
Yeah. It's cut about 4 inches above her knees and way too low in front.
This is one of the hazards of describing fashion for me in my books, because if I try to do something that might be okay today, 5 years later, 10 years later, they'd be like, you're wearing what now? You're wearing corduroy,
a bright green
turtleneck
number with bright green and silver.
So her hair is curled. She's got makeup on. I'm picturing blue eyeshadow for some reason, just because she's so horrified by the look. It seems like it would be a really...
Did you spell horrified WHOR?
I didn't, but you know who did? Kat.
Yes, yeah.
Once she's all done up in these like club clothes, she's got the knee-high boots. I don't know if you can, like, I will pass this around as a visual aid, but the cover, this is Tom Cruise era Nicole Kidman on here. Pass it around. It's gorgeous. She's in like thigh-high boots and tight. So she's all togged out to catch vampires in clubs, sexy-like, but she refers to herself as, oh good, I'm dressed as Kat, the vampire-killing slut.
Yeah.
And throughout the book, she keeps referring to it as like slut wear.
Screwy clothes. Yeah,
it wasn't in a let's reclaim the word slut way. Yeah. To me, it was just like straight up, this is just, and I didn't, that was probably my least favorite part.
And it carried on. Like it wasn't, there was never a time when that wasn't how she thought
she
about
never
clothes.
came to think of those clothes as like her power clothes or her, there was never any acceptance of that as, and that's fine. You dress how you're comfortable with. She clearly wasn't comfortable with it, but I struggled with some of the language she used to describe the clothing
and she described
was
other people that way.
She sure did.
Like Francesca was described
poor
that
Francesca.
way. Yeah. Justice for Francesca.
We'll get there. That's 18 chapters from now.
So they decide.
And then it's time to get some dirty talk training.
Oh yeah. Do we need to talk about that?
No, we can skip that if you want.
Okay. Well,
we're living in a post Tessa Bailey, post Sarah Kate world, right? Yeah. Dirty talk has been nudged.
This and really this dirty talk felt more like he was going for shock value rather than actually trying to get her aroused in any way.
He kept talking about her tight wet box. I didn't like it.
Yeah. But box is like English slang, so she had to put it in there.
I'm not going to let you slander British people like that.
So he's gonna put her through this like rigorous training. So he puts her through both physical, like running, weightlifting, like boulders.
Yeah. Well, listen, she has to be strong.
She has to be strong, fast.
Flexibility training. Yes. So they do a lot of stretching, a lot of lunges,
manual stretching.
But But and then weapons, guns, knives, swords, all that stuff. So I mean, it's just it's months. I don't know, probably. Definitely knives. Swords.
Let's get on to the nasty speak. Okay. That's what he says.
They sure did.
So then he goes through, because basically she is she's just kind of sheltered and prudish, I guess. And so he is like peppering her with, I don't know, like nasty speak to try to get her used to it,
her so that he'd like to do with it
every single time.
He wants to make her just an unrepentant flirt with these vampires, so she doesn't look like it's uncomfortable for her. Because if you say like penis, she probably would have been like, oh my god. So he wants to make sure that she seems like somebody who legitimately would want to hook up with these older worldly vampires. She's got to have her going after. So he goes through all this dirty talk. She goes home that night, takes a bath, starts to masturbate for the first time and is like, dirty urges and stops.
Yeah, she was like offended by herself.
She really was.
That she like thought that Bones was attractive, and like how dare she think about things that way when he's a vampire.
We had internet porn in 2007, right? Like,
we had internet porn in like 2001.
Okay, so like maybe her family had the safe search on always. That feels right for her family.
I just feel like they didn't have Wi-Fi.
They still had dial-up. They still had that.
It's AOL. They putting in that disc.
Yeah. So she's ready. She's ready to go after her first master vamp. So I almost called him Spike. Bones. You'll know who I mean. Bones takes her to the club and he says, "You're going to hunt and kill Sergio."
Yeah.
Sergio, let me tell you, is real bad at seduction. Kat puts on her, this is a quote, full slut gear.
Yes.
Her watch has a pager in it if anything goes sideways. And when she meets Sergio and says her name is Kat, he says, "Kat, what a coincidence. I love pussies."
Yeah.
This is a suave master vampire.
Yes.
He says, "Does Kitty need a tongue bath?"
Yes.
Why
is this happening, Sarah?
I like my actual feline cats less after reading that. Like, you're a fucking disaster, my guy. It was rough.
Yep.
So she gets him alone. She talks about like trying to kill him. She's super okay. The one thing we skipped over. We're gonna try
rewind.
to. We're gonna.
Yeah.
She says to Bones, "You know, I don't know why we're doing this. Those girls aren't even missing. I talked to their families.
Oh, yeah.
They're fine. This one moved in with her boyfriend. This one took a new job. It's fine." And my question to you is, why didn't she tell Bones? Like, she threw it at him during an argument.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even missing. Why are we doing this? Go right away to him and say, "I called the people." And Bones, to his credit, was like, "You did what? You called them? You called them?
Why did you do this?"
Because you shouldn't be doing that."
Yeah.
So she's still super shitty to Bones. She's accusing him of being a rapist. I just really, like, he's been training her. He's setting her out. She's trusting on him to keep her safe. But at the same time, she's just kind of terrible in a not fun way to him.
Yeah, so she gets Sergio alone, right? They go out for a drive. Right?
Yep, she gets him alone. They do manage to kill him. He's a little surprised. I think he's so busy thinking up more terrible like pillow talk that they
he couldn't believe that this pussy bit back.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yes. We made it to chapter 6. We did it.
But yeah, basically, so they kill him, and so Bones has a guy who takes care of corpses. So he calls his corpse guy,
Ted.
Yeah, good guy.
He's a ghoul, isn't he?
We find that out later, but he is a ghoul, and in this universe, ghouls eat bodies.
I don't know if I even have a mental picture of what a ghoul is.
I think ghouls look like different things in different universes, but they eat bodies. Like, they will eat corpses, they eat people.
How do you know all this?
Because I read a lot of like urban fantasy.
Good job.
I didn't mean to say it like that. I'm sorry.
Because I don't.
I can make some recommendations that aren't this.
Great.
So anyway, so then we get Bones' life story.
Yeah.
Are you ready for Bones' life story? I promise you're not. Actually, no, it's fine. You are. Where am I? Is there any Austin Powers hive here? Like 2 people, 3 people. Okay.
I've seen that one movie.
This is the details of my life are quite inconsequential from Austin Powers. My mother was a 15-year-old French prostitute named Chloe with webbed feet.
It's exactly that, though.
It really is. Legitimately, Bones' mother was a prostitute, so he was born in a brothel. Mm-hmm. Early on, they were like, "Do you want to maybe, with the clients?"
Not early on. Like, not when he was a child.
Not like inappropriately early, but once he was of age, whatever of age was in 1800 England. And he was like, "Yeah, but only with ladies." And they were like, "All right." So he himself was in the sex work trade with women. He was also a pickpocket. He was going to be hanged, but one of his rich lady clients sexed up the judge and said, "Send him to Australia instead." And this is where I bring up. Tanya's laughing because she's heard me say this so many times. My theory about why Australians are so hot. Listen, in England times, they did transport criminals sometimes, and I'm telling you, it was the criminals who were too hot and charismatic to hang.
Yes.
And so that is how we have Hemsworths
because they had people,
and Jackmans.
They had people willing to sex up judges to keep them alive
because of that good Bones magic. So
I get it.
So Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So anyway, so that's how, and so then he is in Australia. He makes friends with a crew of 4 people. Bada bing, one of them becomes a vampire, turns the others into vampires. He's buried in the ground.
There were 4?
There were.
I thought there was only 3, but it doesn't matter. That's not part of this book.
This is not heaving math.
Okay.
This is heaving bosoms.
It wasn't also heaving reading comprehension for me.
It was heaving really wild week, and we're just lucky that you're here. So he woke up in the ground, a vampire, and had to claw his way out, and he was surrounded by the bones of dead people in the ground where they put him, and so he was like, I was born again in bones, and my name is Bones. Not Spike, please don't sue. And then one of my favorite parts of this book is he says something like, so how's this interview with the vampire going? You know, like, no, like in that movie. And I was so angry that he referenced the movie.
Yeah.
And put some respect on that book, Interview with the Vampire. And then Kat says, oh, that was too violent for me. And then later on mentions the Silence of the Lambs. Kathleen.
I don't understand, but like, I feel like her mother is so joyless that like they didn't watch any movies.
Fair. So she probably like either
had to
heard
like
about it through the ether.
Sneak it from the library.
Yeah, fair.
I did like there was a line, and I don't even remember when it was on page 78, but I don't know what was happening around it.
That's the book.
Yeah, I don't know. But basically he said, I don't come unless I'm invited. And it was just such a good play on like that classic vampire myth.
Bones really is charming and likable for all that, you know, I feel like we're a little critical at times. He really is.
Us?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, we're not. We're lovely.
Never.
This is another chapter where Kat does accuse him of being a sexual assaulter. I don't know why that maybe is her deal.
She's really, well, and I mean, I'm sure she's heard a lot of it growing up, so she's suspectful.
To be fair, all she's
suspecting. Suspicious. There it is.
She thinks he's real sus.
Yeah.
No, all she's heard is vampires are monsters and killers and rapists.
Yeah.
So to be fair, of course she does, but he's done nothing but train her and have her back, and you know, it really is.
Yeah.
And there are times in this when she eventually does acknowledge, like, I was real prejudiced against vampires, and that's on me. So she does get there. There is growth.
Yeah.
So the next night he says, we're gonna go hunting again, and we're gonna hunt for a vampire named Crispin.
This was such a cute thing. I thought
such a cute thing, because you know who Crispin is?
It's Bones.
It's his real name.
He kind of like sets her up to have a first date with her.
So she's at the bar waiting for Crispin, and he comes up and is like, hello, love. And she's, get out of here. Crispin's going to be along. And he's like, oh, he's right here. Yeah. He is smitten with you. And it's really sweet. It really is.
But right before that, she was approached by 2 young pups at the bar.
Human. So they're at a vampire. Yes. They're at a known supernatural bar.
Called Bite.
It's called Bite.
And it's weird because both humans know about vampires, but then don't know about vampires.
So
I don't really get
humans
it.
are there.
Yeah.
I guess. 2 human boys are super eager. And they buy her a drink, and they're like, drink this, drink all of this. You're going to drink it like from the bottom, right? You're going to drink all of it.
Yeah.
And so all of us in the audience know what's going on there. Yeah. But Kat does not, because she's a very sheltered 22-year-old. And so Bones comes up and is like, bugger off, basically. And they're very sweet, very cute. And she starts to feel a little like she drank a gin and tonic that the humans bought her, and she's feeling a little like, oh, this is weird. This is affecting me more than usual.
Her and Bones are dancing, she feels a little bit lightheaded.
And then they kiss, Natalie.
Yes, they did kiss. And then Hennessy himself walks in, and we skipped this whole part, but Sergio, the guy that she murdered, the reason that they were finding him is that they're trying to find out information about this ring that is trafficking women through two vampires, and it's this, they believe it's a giant web of people. And Sergio was a connection to this guy Hennessy, and it turns out that they're at this bar to go on a first date, and it turns into an actual job, because Hennessy walks right in, and he eyes Kat right off the bat. They decide to go for it, and Kat starts talking to him and steps aside from him for a while. Like, they get separated. He goes to talk to Bones, and the 2 young guys come back, and they're like, look, we brought you another gin and tonic. Look at it.
And she okay, and here's what, so she drinks it, and she says, wow, this is really bitter, but I don't want to seem impolite, so I'll drink it. And I have to say, do the kids today not know the book The Gift of Fear?
I don't know The Gift of Fear.
Okay. No. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I feel like is this a Gen X thing? Is this okay? The Gift of Fear was a book that came out, I don't know, when Gen X was reading books, saying basically women, mostly women appearing people who might be vulnerable, whatever the case may be in a situation, if your gut says this is not a good situation, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Don't be polite. Don't make excuses. Don't feel bad about it. Don't
drink gin
don't
and
get in the
tonics
car.
that taste bitter.
Don't finish a drink that tastes bitter. Yeah, like take care of yourself. Listen to that little voice, because the only person who's going to take care of you is you. Yeah. I teach journalism, and every semester when I'm teaching the reporting skills, I'm like, listen, if you go someplace with a source and it feels weird, I'm going to go way off track.
Yeah,
I once did a story about a guy who had he just installed like an underground bunker. And he was so excited. And
that
he was like,
your first sign, Sarah. It feels weird. I'm ready to leave.
It was a small town newspaper, and they were like, he's got a really fancy bunker. Why don't you go? And it was me and the blonde photographer. I'm also blonde. If listener, you can't see me. And he was just like, hey, they sent two of you. You want to come down and look at my bunker? And the photographer and I made very strong eye contact. And the photographer said, I will go down and photograph it. And then looked at me, clearly saying, if I don't come the fuck back up. So, but that was and afterward, we both realized like we both felt bad, and we should have just what I'm saying is Kat drank the drink, and she shouldn't have, because they sure did roofie her. Yeah. They sure did. So she is drugged. And Bones is not aware of this. And so she gets Hennessy to leave with her with the promise of sex again. And he gets the better of her. He overpowers her by the side of the road and starts actually drinking her. And she presses the panic beeper in her watch. Yes. And guess who comes charging
and she
in?
Like barely remembers. Like, you get very, very descriptive.
Yeah.
It could be very, very triggering if it's a situation that you went through, because she is not only experiencing the symptoms of being drugged, but then actively trying to fight off somebody while she is drugged. So it's a pretty rough scene, but she does press that button on her watch just in the nick of time.
And guess what? Guess where she wakes up the next morning again?
In Bones' bed, you guys.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
And then we get a kind of info dump that he just killed everybody.
Yeah.
The
well,
Roofie
no,
boys,
he didn't kill Hennessy.
He didn't kill Hennessy.
Hennessy got away.
Boys.
Evidently, while Hennessy is trying to bring a lady out to the woods to rape/murder her, his bodyguard was in the trunk just chilling.
Just like crouching tiger, hidden dragon in the trunk.
And then when Bones shows up, like running, he pops out of the trunk to attack Bones, and then like Bones fights that guy off. Hennessy gets away, and then he rescues Kat, and she like talks about her drink, and then he figures out that she wakes up and then tells him, and he's like, "I'ma go do it," and then
sure,
well, sure, and then that's what happened.
Well, and this is actually this was a step too far for me. Because he finds the two roofie boys with another woman. They have upped the roofie count because it didn't affect Kat, and they've killed her. And
are having sex with her.
I think, here's what I'm going to defend Jeaniene here.
Why?
Because high empathy.
Okay.
Because I think she needed to make it okay for Bones to kill two humans. She needed to make it okay, because if you roofie somebody, like, is that death by vampire on the side of the road? We all have our own answers to that, and that's fine, and I'm not judging anybody. But the fact that they actually did kill somebody, I think it made it okay for Bones to just be like, destroy. So I think it was, but it was hard.
I think we as
to
romance
read.
readers would be okay with a guy murdering somebody for reasons.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And also, another thing I will say, this is paranormal romance. This is coming at a time when urban fantasy is also very popular. And so I think urban fantasy readers have a little higher, maybe, tolerance for murder and mayhem and all that kind of stuff. So I do think there's kind of a different audience understanding sometimes too. Anyway, it was Ruth, and Bones took care of it.
Yeah.
And then Kat says that she only kissed him at the club because she was roofied.
Yeah.
And he gets...
And she also accuses him of taking advantage of her.
Yeah, and he's not pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Kat, this is one of many times that happens. So then
we go to college.
I stopped taking notes.
It's fine. Here's what...
my notes pick back up again on page 200.
All right, y'all, I'm Sarah. I'm going to be leading you through this for a while.
I remembered it all.
You will.
Listen to it on
pull
audio.
up our text history, because I think some of that is in it.
Yeah.
So, okay, we now go to college. Kat is in college now. She is enrolled in college.
She got some money from Bones for the Sergio
Bones
deal.
is collecting bounties on some of these bad vampires, and so he gives her 20% of the take.
And it's like $20,000.
It was a lot of money. It was not a small amount of money. So she has all this cash, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to college."
Mm-hmm.
She has her own. Well, she's going to get her own apartment. She's not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So she's made friends with Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
And
she meets Stephanie on the first day of school.
And
Stephanie's waiting for her. Outside of class.
The scariest part of this book, she said that of the 5 days of college so far, Monday through Friday, Stephanie has only been in class 2 days in their physics class. Does that mean that physics class meets 5 days a week at college? Absolutely not.
In this AU,
Yeah.
Vampires jizz is pink,
Vampires are not the monsters.
Also,
school
physics
scheduling
class
is the monster.
5 days a week.
Terrifying. No, thank you.
And Stephanie has been waiting for her, just so friendly, getting to know her, asking
buddy.
about her background.
Oh, you don't have any family? Nobody cares if you live or die? Cool. You want to come to my place?
Any other friends?
Nobody knows where you are right now.
We're best friends.
Yeah. So she takes Kat to Stephanie. Stephanie takes Kat to Stephanie's apartment, where it is described as having a plasma TV, a fancy computer notebook, and a huge entertainment center.
Fancy wicker furniture, Sarah.
It's so good. 2007. And when she asks Kat if she has a boyfriend, Kat's like, no, gross, no. And so
boys are disgusting.
Stephanie says, wow, that was empathetic. Do you bat for the other team? And Kat says,
what other team? Lesbians existed in 2007.
They sure did.
So did bisexuals.
They sure did.
So did asexuals.
They sure did. so
good God.
It does turn out that Stephanie is involved in the trafficking ring. She's a human helper. She finds these women on college
campuses. She
campuses.
drinks vampire blood
to make her a little stronger.
Yeah.
So when Kat's like, oh, wait, you're here to turn me over to the Hennessy crew, not knowing I'm the person who's been trying to take them down. You just thought I was a loner college girl and nobody would miss me.
But she doesn't know about Hennessy yet. She just knows that Stephanie's trying to get her.
Yeah, she doesn't know that it's connected.
Yeah.
Fair, thank you. Mm-hmm. So she attacks Stephanie to get her freedom, not because she likes attacking humans, but Stephanie's real strong, and so there's a struggle. There's a gun.
There's a gun?
They both reach for the gun. The gun goes off. Stephanie is deceased.
Yeah. Even though she's drinking vampire blood, it does not stop her. Just like with Kat, it doesn't stop her from being
a bullet.
Yeah.
Because she's not a vampire. So
dead,
she calls
able
Bones.
to die.
He comes and says, we will take care of this.
So
love.
he runs to the rescue, even though they haven't talked in days. She has, not contacted him, and vice versa. And he comes and takes care of it. And he's like, who's she working for? And Kat has no idea. She's like, and it just happens to be a big coinky dink.
Yeah, it is a pretty big coincidence that she just happened to be. And Bones is a little peeved that she killed Stephanie before they could get some answers, to be fair.
Kat's like, come on. What am I supposed to do?
She was trying to. So then Bones takes her back to the cave.
Mm-hmm. And
it's time.
Yeah. It's on TM.
It's on TM. And I will say, at the time, 2007, I remember the discourse being, have you read chapter 12? Yeah. Have you read chapter 12? And it's It's a good scene. It is. And I do think it is kind of interesting to see the way sex scenes have evolved and the way language and descriptions and things have just gotten, I think the steam level has been turned up over the years. But this is a good sexy scene. Like it's good. I will say this poor girl had her first orgasm at 22. So thankfully she was in the hands of somebody who had done this for a living.
I'm pulling up our text history, Sarah.
He was great with consent. At one point she was just like, no, not down there. And he's like, all right, I'll stop. And then she's like, okay, I guess down there.
Yeah. She doesn't know it's a thing at the age of 22.
Correct.
She doesn't know that men will go down on women at the age of 22 or vice versa,
Correct.
I suppose.
It really was like bringing a bazooka when you needed a fly swatter, right? Like this is her first time, and she has Bones, the 200-year-old vampire who used to pleasure women professionally, knows and she's just like, oh, I guess is that what we do now? Some of the descript. At one point, he does something, and she describes it as provocatively stimulating. At one point, she praises his tempered savageness.
I don't get what that means. I didn't know what it meant, Sarah.
She does draw the line at him sucking her blood. She's like, nope, I don't want you to do that, because he is definitely like got his teeth on her artery, and she's just like, nope, not interested in that. Not my kink. And so he pulls away. He's like, no, it's fine. They keep having sex. Like that's
it doesn't grind things to a halt. Pun intended.
And then in my notes I have, of course she stormed out afterward.
Well, yeah, so she wakes up after having sex with him, and she's like, oh my gosh, we had sex, and now I'm gonna have to go see my mother. And she like absolutely loses her shit about it. She is like so in her head, and he's like, you need to stay here, you need to talk through this with me. And she's like, absolutely not, goodbye. Are there mirrors in this cave, by the way?
There are not. Okay, because he's 22, he's 200 and she's 22, and it shows in a lot of these scenes. And it turns out she does have a reason for being concerned, because she gets home
and her
grandparents are
sitting
like,
on the porch.
Her grandparents on the like hand in hand, rocking chair. I'm rocking. You
she
can't see it.
She done been concerned with the devil.
And how do we know?
She has many been there, done there marks.
She has
on
been
her neck.
there, done that marks on her neck.
That's how they are referred to. No, they're hickeys, Sarah. I thought you were clawing.
I was. I don't know why I was clawing. I don't know why.
Well, hickeys
are commonly made with mouths. I don't know why I was doing that. I don't know.
Well, we do say, because she freaks out and she's like, I almost said Spike, Bones, how dare you give me so many been there, done there marks. Been there, done that marks. How dare you? And he's like, have you seen my back, though? Because
she clawed him the fuck up.
And he's like, it's only because I heal fast that you can't see it.
So for all the, you can't take my blood, she definitely like bites the crap out of him and just, it's, well. So her mother's like, oh, no, I am driving out of the county and I'm going to buy you condoms.
And she does, in fact, leave the house to drive
out of the county.
And then Bones shows up and he glamours, well, they don't call it that, but he glamours
basically
the grandparents into thinking that he's a young girl from Bible study, and that
I'm here to take your granddaughter for Bible study with me, a nice young girl. And the grandparents are like, amazing.
Perfect. She's trouble, that one, you know.
But as it turns out, they figured out what's been going on. Hennessy basically has a Meals on Wheels program where he kidnaps women, he uses them, he traffics them for human use, and then delivers them to vampires for blood use, and then delivers them to ghouls for body disposal. It's actually impressive if it wasn't
pretty efficient, if you think. No part is wasted.
And he was doing this in Mexico. He was doing this in another part of the U.S.
He got caught in Mexico, and then he had to reform himself somewhere else.
He's upped his game somehow. So Bones thinks he's at it again, and so he wants them to go to Charlotte to keep tracking down Hennessy and to use her as a honey trap again. She refers to what they did as making love, which seems weird in a number of ways, because first of all, no. Second of all, you just accused that man of like raping you.
Yes.
I don't think it was making love.
And she's like insistent that he could never love her later on. So it's like really,
it's very strange. But also now it's this line.
Yeah.
As she's thinking about it, she says, I mean, but after all, he fucks like a Trojan.
What does it mean? Sarah and I have talked at length over the last 2 to 3 days about
he's large and hollow and smaller things are inside.
Is it that he's solely made of wood?
Is he only made of wood? Is he on wheels?
Yes.
Fucks like
You think it's one large thing, but in fact it splits apart into hundreds of other smaller things.
This is never described.
Yeah, I don't know what it means.
Explained.
Also, like, are people from Troy like rural good, and we just don't know?
If anybody was a classics major, speak up because
fucks like a Trojan.
Fucks like a Trojan.
Is this also movie 300? The like a movie 300 fanfic?
Mysteries.
No, no.
The movie 300. Yes, Sparta. She kicks him into a hole. She yells Sparta. It's a whole thing. No. But yeah, so she's like, well, maybe he's not all bad if he fucks like a Trojan. So. We fly to Charlotte.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to speed this up.
Yeah,
she takes out Hennessy's goons. They rescue a survivor.
Yeah.
And Bones.
This is when we get some really, really bad descriptions of sexual assault. And you get really a big picture of what Hennessy is doing.
Yeah, it's real bad. So they take the survivor to a woman that Bones knows from years ago. He rescued her from an abusive husband situation. And so now she runs an abused women's shelter. She takes in this woman that they've rescued from Hennessy and his goons. And Kat's a little jealous. Like, was he with this woman once upon a time? But she finds out, no, he's been caring for these abused women, these vulnerable women for a long time.
Yeah, and she's like basically jealous of this woman, and she's like, you can have him if you want.
And Bones is in the other room, and when she says to the woman in a different room, you can have him if you want, she hears Bones be like, ugh. So they go back to the hotel, Bones and Kat, and they have a fade. There are no more descriptive sex scenes. It's all fade to black from here. So we had chapter 12, bam, 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 Trojan time.
There's lots of allusions to how much sex they are having, but
okay, I'm horrified by this because the next morning in the hotel room, they're like, there's chairs crashed. There's broken lamps. There's blood on the carpet. There's blood.
Whose blood?
Whose blood was it there before? Was it like?
Is it someone? Why is she bleeding?
I had questions. It was never explained.
Yeah.
But Bones again offers 20% of the cut for the goons they killed this time, and she says, no. While we're sleeping together, I'm not taking your money. And he says, well, if you're not taking your cut of the money, it means you're leaving it for me, which means you're basically paying me, which means basically I'm a prostitute again.
No, I'm sorry. She uses the word gigolo.
She sure does.
Yeah. So, in case you're wondering, Kat is both too young and too old, all at the same time.
But honestly, that's a raised by grandparents thing.
Yeah.
Truly.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Do my grandparents even know what a gigolo is?
Get them on the blower and ask.
I don't
do that. I'm sorry I said blower. Grandpa, what's a gigolo?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Rest in peace.
We're back home in Licking Falls. And Kat has finally moved into her own apartment. We meet her next door neighbor, whose name is Timmy. There is a terrible, terrible scene where Timmy is very nervous to be around this gorgeous redhead.
Yeah.
And so when she comes over for coffee, she intentionally drools coffee. And
to
it's
make
just
him
like,
feel more at ease.
Oh, I just have a drooling problem. And they have this flirty,
This was like watching two robots interact. This scene was just so uncomfortable. And I was like, humans do not. And I guess she's not fully human, but nobody
Timmy is.
Yeah, but like he's a basically non-completely formed human man that is in front of a very attractive, more mature
who drools and jokes about having like drooling sickness to make him feel better, and he does.
Yeah, it's
I don't know, it was rough. So then she is like, okay, bye, I'm gonna go see my undead lover. And she shows up at Bones Cave, and she finds.
I have really quickly something to say about her apartment, because she was able to purchase all sorts of things, including a few lamps, and that was the whole enchilada, Sarah. The whole
Those
enchilada.
are not Natalie's words. Those are Kat's words.
She said she was able to buy everything, including lamps, and that was the whole enchilada.
She was raised by old people, but I don't believe those old people ate enchiladas.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. She's a 90-year-old woman.
She is. She really is. She is. So thank you for the enchilada interruption. That was important.
It was important enough for me to highlight.
So
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So she's at Bones' cave, but Bones is not there. Instead, she sees somebody who comes wandering out, a vampire she doesn't recognize, and she's just like...
Black, spiky, but hair that's both spiky and long.
Spade has... this mystery man has kinky hair that spikes up from his crown before hanging past his shoulders.
It's a mullet!
It's a mullet!
We got a mullet in here!
It's a mullet! So, understandably, she attacks him because he is in a mullet, and Bones
She
is not
throws
there.
rocks in his eyes.
She throws rock and then just his head, and so she's on top of him like, we're gonna wait for Bones to get back, and so she's like on top of this man, grinding his face with rocks in his eyes into the, and then Bones comes back and is like, mate, you'd better have a really good reason for
why
her being
she's
on your
top
back.
of you, yeah.
Because it is one of his buddies from Australia who is also a vampire. His name is Charles. I need you to know that one of the goons they killed earlier was Charlie. So there's a Charlie and a Charles. Why would you do that to us, Jeaniene Frost? I don't know.
She wrote that part later.
Yeah.
I had added it in.
Names are hard.
He's mostly called Spade. Because
he worked the Spade on the work cruise in Australia, and he is named after the thing that they treated him like. And it's actually like compelling backstory. It's the last we see of him. Basically,
we hear about him a lot.
You
but
do.
Yeah,
I
he
can't
does
remember.
like reconnaissance work with Bones to find out where Hennessy is, but he's always like somewhere else. He's probably going to come back in a future book, maybe.
I assume so. So another undercover mission for Kat. She goes undercover and she tracks a vampire by saying, "Hey man, you got any horse?"
Horse. She means heroin, everybody.
She's dressed like an addict.
Yeah. Oh no, it was really bad. It was like, how a typical addict would look. Okay.
Let's unpack that. We're not going to unpack that because we don't have. So, but this vampire is, I guess, uses drugs as an excuse to kidnap people again to do the Hennessy situation. So she gets him aside. My note is, this bitch is challenging him to a fight. These are 200-year-old vampires. You're a half vampire with a month of training. Apparently, I was over it by this point. So they are going after they get the drug vampire to take them to Lola. Is that how it happens?
Yeah, and then they told two friends, and then they told two friends. But basically, we're getting to Francesca is who we're getting to.
But before we do that, I do need you to know that at one point, Bones gets directions from MapQuest.
Oh, yeah. He downloaded MapQuest directions on his phone, you guys.
This is a beautiful, horrible, wonderful snapshot of 2007. So
I would have believed it more if he had printed them off.
Yes. Yeah. No,
truly. 2007.
Make some noise if you printed something from MapQuest once upon a time. Yes.
And then if that route changed midday, you're fucked.
So the drug vampire takes them to somebody named Lola. Kat kills them both. Bones is like, "Ooh, you're my Grim Reaper, but you're my Red Reaper."
Good God. But then basically they don't get enough information because they kill everybody before.
She kills them too fast. And again, Bones is like, "Would you quit killing them? We need to get answers about who's behind this." And so she has been worried all night because she has a test the next day in college. And so
she's got her addict outfit on. And she's all bruised up. So she has to go to her test.
Why did Bones not give her just a little bit of blood to heal her? Because he's been giving her drops just to keep her healed.
Yeah.
But no, he just sends her like bruised and disheveled and in her like oversized hoodie with the "you got any horse." So she probably bombs the test. She goes to all her other classes, which is a wild choice. Good for her. She goes back to her apartment. Her mom shows up.
Yes.
And she's a mess. And Timmy comes wandering by because he was very impressed with the coffee drool. And she says, "This is my boyfriend, Timmy. Timmy, this is my mom.
He's helping me kill vampires."
And then she pulls Timmy aside and is like, "Listen, my mom, she's got..."
Or kill demons, I think.
Demons.
Is what
she says, "My mom, she's like off her meds. She thinks demons are real." So the whole time her mom was like, "Yeah, you kill those vampires. You get them." She's behind her mom looking at Timmy making like, "She crazy." Yeah. It's kind of awful, but her mom is kind of awful, so I'll allow it.
Also, what mom is showing up at a college person's apartment
It's an hour drive away.
Unannounced. Although supposedly they had plans this time, but
this is a pre-cell phone. Like at some point, somebody says we should get you a mobile telephone, but we don't have them yet. So
get you a Nokia 1320.
Get you a Razor.
Yeah.
And so. She says, Mom, I'm so sorry. Rough night, like hunting vampires with my boyfriend Timmy. Timmy, she's like, my mom thinks they're real. And Timmy's like, we will get those vampires by the power of Christ, ma'am.
Yeah.
So Timmy, a good guy, doesn't deserve any of this, really.
Yeah, just what you mean.
So Mom heads out, and Kat goes with Bones to meet
Francesca.
She is every stereotype of a spicy Latina.
Yeah, she is. It's
every
really
stereotype. Kat is so jealous because she has the boobs and the ass and the tiny waist
and the good hair.
She's fiery and the good hair. And when she sits down, she does flash everybody Basic Instinct style. Like she
flashes them a shaved beaver pelt, which that's two different things. How could it be shaved and a beaver pelt at the same time? Beavers are notoriously furry and lush.
Was it made? Should we instead say she flashed us a bald beaver?
Shaved beaver? Pelt is not the word here.
Pelt is never the word. Never the word.
I mean, I'll talk about a man pelt.
Oh, you want to do that for a while? You want to just talk about our favorite, like Henry Cavill with the nice, So Francesca says, I'm working for Hennessy. I hate him. He is my master. He made me.
A sire, yeah.
He's my sire.
Basically, the vampire who turned you into a vampire is your sire, and you're beholden to them for your whole life?
Your whole damn life.
And so she's tired of him because he's a mess, and he's dangerous, and he's, and they also, basically, they will protect you, but they're also extorting you the whole time.
And Hennessy's not a nice guy. Obviously, he's murdering women, like, terribly.
Yeah.
So, not a nice guy. So Francesca's like, I want out. I know this is dangerous. I'm going to try to get you information about who
there's a new guy
for.
that's pulling the strings, that's helping keep the information under wraps, that Hennessy is reporting to, that is all powerful. And it turns out that man is the governor of Ohio.
Okay, you jumped way ahead, but fear the power of the governor.
I only spoiled it because it fit
Ohio.
really well.
It really did. It really did. And for a while, she was thinking it might be the mayor, but no, it goes all the way to the top of Ohio.
Straight to the top of Ohio. The governor.
So while they're in this room with Francesca, and Francesca's flashing her naked beaver, Bones does something, and Kat's like, that was nice. I'm going to give him sex afterward and maybe a blowjob, because it turns out I kind of like giving a blowjob.
Yeah.
I guess there's two tramps in this room.
Yes. Somehow, it's so...
Blowing your boyfriend does not make you enjoying giving...
Francesca's not a tramp because of how she's dressed.
Nope. And
you giving your
healthy
boyfriend
sex
a
with your
blowjob.
boyfriend is not...
Yes.
So...
Anyway... Maybe you like pink jizz. It's okay.
It's okay.
You're not a tramp.
We did kind of gloss over that, but he did. I mean, you get the idea.
Yeah.
You get it. And the
Vampire
first time they have sex, she's like, wait, what is that? And he's like, oh, that's me, love. It's,
Yeah.
He's very matter of fact. He's not apologetic. Bless Bones. So actually, and here's where she does get a little, this is where I start to like her turn, because she says, if Bones were shallow like me, he'd say all I'd ever asked or shown an interest in about vampires was how to kill them.
Yeah.
Anything to do with culture, beliefs, values, traditions hadn't concerned me.
Yeah.
So she's acknowledging that, okay, it's not just vampires. And the other thing we haven't talked about is every time she meets somebody who's like, my love died years ago, she's like, vampires? And he's like, no, humans fucking suck.
Yeah. All the vampires are like...
Every time she talks with vampires, she's like, oh, vampires? They're like, no, humans are terrible.
Humans are the fucking worst. Francesca goes on a whole tirade about how...
like, look at all the things you excuse and overlook. And so
there was like some like really... I thought actually poignant things that Jeaniene Frost said during this that were like, okay, like that amount of alertness and paying attention to how things are is so, but it was in such a contrast to how she felt about how women dressed and how she treated women through this book. But then she's like all about social justice issues in these things in this book. It was very weird. I don't know.
So they leave Francesca. Francesca goes off to really genuinely endanger her life to get information about this trafficking ring. Bones and Kat do have sex in a stairwell. Kat mind wipes the guy who comes in.
Not Kat. Bones mind wipes.
She doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So the next chapter, they bump into Danny. We have not discussed Danny.
Danny is Kat's first sexual encounter. She was basically had convinced herself she was in love with Danny. I'm not really sure how they met.
I think they met at a club. She was 16. He was older than that. He convinced her that he liked her, that he loved her, that they were special.
He refers to her as being underage, so he's aware that she is 16.
He says, you look like when they bump into each other again, he says, you look like a baby when we were together. You've really grown up, because she's in her full gear.
Yeah.
But he did have sex with her and then ghosted her.
Yeah.
And she was destroyed. And so that was her only sexual experience before Bones.
The night when she realized she had been ghosted was the night that she killed a vampire for the first time.
Yeah. So they're out of the club tracking more vampires. They bump into Danny, and Bones is like, is this the guy? Is this the fucking guy? And he takes Danny's hand and he just pulverizes it.
He crushes it so much the bones come out of the skin. And then, because he wants him to remember who did it, he doesn't glamour him. He doesn't wipe his brain. And Danny absolutely turns him over to the police.
And honestly, I feel like, I don't know, did Danny deserve to have his whole ass hand crushed?
I mean, yes.
Yeah, okay, fair. All right, fair. The audience has spoken. All right, that's fair.
I mean, he had knowingly had sex with an underage woman.
True.
And then later on was like, you know what? Now that you're old enough, you look better. You look even better than when I
adult women generally do.
You were 16.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I feel like the 16 thing wasn't emphasized enough prior to this chapter. It was after the fact that she was like, and I was 16. I was like, oh, that, because when Bones was doing it, I was like, wait, that guy had sex with her and left, and you're destroying his hand. The age thing was later, so I think it was a little out of order for me.
It could have been when she rewrote things. You know,
that could be too. That could be too. Anyway, so Bones happily destroys Danny's hand. He runs off sobbing, and Bones is like, couldn't handle his liquor, am I right? To the bartender. And they head back to Kat's apartment again. Her mom shows up again unannounced.
Yes.
And she makes Bones hide in the closet because she's not ready to tell her mom, who hates vampires, that she is sleeping with a vampire. And Bones basically says, I'm not the one who's in the closet. You're in the closet. Like, you can put me in this closet all you want, but you're not doing that, which was maybe questionable.
I mean, he knows kind of where she's coming from, but he's also, I think, prioritizing himself in that if you're not ready to tell your mom and pursue a relationship with me, honestly, then I'm not necessarily, then let me know when you are.
In the words of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, I mean, and honestly, Bones needed to hear that. He needed to say, you got to sort this shit out because you're hiding who I am, who you are. Also, there is nothing redeeming about her mother. Is there?
No, I mean, not that I find
how much
later.
she loves her mom and her mom's always supported her. Bitch, what? No.
Yeah.
She has said nothing but you're evil and you got to kill the only time she's nice to Kat is when Kat's talking about a vampire she killed. It's wild. And I understand your mother is your mother and those relationships are complicated. I get that, but woof.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
So then it's like, there's like a montage of where she talks to Timmy and like some other stuff happens. We find out that she wears black gloves as part of her ensemble, which
picture that
was
with the green and silver dress.
The only thing worthwhile of me highlighting in chapter 19 was that section where
fair.
And then, and also the part where that's when in chapter 19 is also when we realize that she is Kathleen.
Yeah.
And that's not good. But then she comes to realize that she does want Bones in her life. She wants to be open and honest with him. So she calls him on his phone inside his cave phone.
It's like a bat phone. Yeah.
And she's like, hey, I want to come see you. And he's like, hey, Francesca. And she's like, what? And he's like, hey, come here now. I got to keep this line clear. Something happened. So she rushes there. And, oh, wait, is this when she puts the spandex on?
No, that's later.
Okay. Sorry.
There's a lengthy description of spandex. I don't know why.
So then she gets there. They realize that something happened to Francesca. So they go to, they go and they find her body, right?
At Hennessy's favorite dumping site. So Francesca, and Bones makes a point of saying Hennessy, if he knew Francesca had betrayed him, would have drawn out her death for weeks because she's dead and it's clean. She did it herself. Like she staked herself.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's how scared she was of Hennessy. So it's upping the stakes for everybody. Hennessy is that bad that Francesca would rather.
And she also didn't want Bones to be found, he thinks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing to lead her.
They're sad, but not sad enough that they don't go bang it out.
And she insists that he drinks her blood because she wants that part of I want my blood inside you, Bones. I want to know it's running through your veins.
This is very sexy talk for vampires. How dare you?
Yes. And then she wakes up because she goes through, like, once he drinks her blood, she kind of goes into like a stupor and she kind of passes out, right? Mm-hmm. She wakes up in a cocoon, and after they have had this very intimate moment, she accuses him of undressing her while she sleeps. Ma'am, you just had him. You just willingly let him drink your blood.
Kat, we are
and now you're going to
we're trying to go along on this journey with you, Kat, but you're making it so hard. But I will say she does have a really nice monologue in this chapter. She says, "I'm moody, insecure, narrow-minded, jealous, borderline homicidal bitch, but I want you to promise me that you're okay with that because it's who I am and you're what I need."
Yeah.
She says, "I missed every minute that I wasn't with you. If my mother disowns me for being with a vampire, that's her decision. I've made mine. I won't apologize or back down." So she does tell him she loves him. So there is, you do see the change. It just is kind of like two steps forward.
We didn't talk about when he told her that he loves her. At that point in time, I was like, "You love this person?
This person who keeps accusing you of all kinds of things, and is
you
just
were
like
willing to say I love you out loud to Catherine Kathleen, who has multiple times insulted you to your face, to her mom, to Timmy, to like
yes,
everybody.
This is what I'm saying. I like Bones so much. I want him to be with somebody who respects him, but he just loves her, and I guess I don't know.
So then she goes back to her apartment and the cops show up.
Yeah, so Danny has been like, this man broke my hand.
Yeah.
And so the cops start put together. When we open with that body in the trunk, in the very beginning, with the cop with the belt, with the what you up to,
the belt buckle chuckle shuffle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They have found that body. They found the body of the woman that vampire killed, and they found the vampire's body quite desiccated. They're very confused about why somebody would have dug up this body and put it back in the ground later.
Put it back in modern clothes and then buried it again. Decapitated it and then buried it.
And somehow Danny gets involved and says, "Oh, I was with her that night," or "She left early." Like, Danny basically gives them evidence that Kat was involved, that she was the redhead, she was driving the truck, blah, blah, blah.
All redheads. Justice for redheads.
In my mind, the moral of the story is that maybe Bones should have killed Danny, like he wanted to, or wiped his mind, honestly. Shouldn't have been petty about it. Should have broken the hand and then been like, "You fell real hard." I don't know.
Wasn't it a bummer that you slammed it in your car door?
You ran into my knife 9 times.
Yeah.
So
he had it coming.
I want you to sing more of that. So I will say, Kat here behaves really wisely. The cops leave. She's like, "You can't get anything from me. You can't come in here. You can't do a look around.
You have nothing to take me. You have no warrant. You're definitely not coming into my house. You have to leave."
And here's where she puts on the spandex.
Yeah, she puts on a full spandex outfit. This is another makeover montage.
The pants.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The spandex headband. Like, everything is spandex.
She's basically putting up a ruse that she's going to go running in the woods.
Because she knows that she can't call Bones right away and be like, they know. Because that's what they would expect. So she doesn't call him. She does this. She goes to the mall and she shops for an hour in her spandex. And then she parks like 10 miles away from the cave and she goes for a really circular jog.
4 miles.
At what point I would be too tired for crime fighting. Like, no. So she gets to the cave and she tells Bones what's been going on. And Bones immediately says, "Call your family."
Yeah.
And so she gets on the horn. She calls her family and it rings and it rings and it rings and it rings. Because apparently it's a house line, but it doesn't have an answering machine. So nobody answers. So they race to her house. and her grandparents are real murdered.
Yeah, have been murdered.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like very dramatic. So they find their grandfather down in the front room. She goes upstairs, finds her grandmother. Bones has stayed down with the grandfather, finds a note, but then the cops show up.
So they hurry on out of there.
She throws knives into Detective Manfield's hands.
Both of them. The detectives show up and she's just like, okay, so when she leaves, she's still in her spandex. But
oh no,
now
she has put on
like
knife
you know
holsters.
the Rambo style like
and two guns.
Guns. She's got them in her boots. She's got them on her thighs. She's got them on her arms. I think she's a
She uses all of them.
And
don't worry, guys.
She's a really, really good knife thrower, which was news to me at this point in the book.
It must have been that she practiced it.
We did not see evidence of this, but that's okay.
She had but at the beginning
busy.
she had thrown the stake at Bones and she almost got him. So like
if somebody had just like several chapters earlier been like, you're real good at throwing knives, her being like whip 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 into the wrists of the detectives would have made it's fine. She's a knife badass. It's cool.
Yes.
And you know her grandparents were terrible. Like terrible, but death by nobody deserves that.
Death by throats getting ripped out is what happened.
So
sorry. Okay, sorry.
This is a room
I didn't
of
mean
romance,
to make
people.
it so real.
So
this is a vampire book, everybody.
This is from here on out. It's almost nonstop action. It really this is great. If you like action,
really
it's bam, bam, bam.
And that is something I think this book did really well. The fight scenes, you could keep track of them. You could know what was happening. They were descriptive without. There was some gory stuff, but it wasn't like
it wasn't torture
people are
porny.
getting
You know, it
punched
wasn't
through their rib cages.
Okay, that's about to happen. It's in my notes.
She had a man hanging from her arm.
Jumping ahead. She had a rib cage on her arm. Yeah. So they have a note that says where, and it's kind of coded so Bones knows what it means. Where he can go to find.
2 days something.
Two clicks after the death of the day, or I think it's 2 in the morning. So Bones says, here's the thing. They don't know you're a half vampire. They're expecting me. They're not expecting you. So you're going to act really innocent. You're going to cover up all your knives.
Pretend to be drunk again.
And so I'm going to go in and I'm going to get your mom out. It's definitely a trap, but you're going to be the spoiler. You're going to be the surprise badass. So he says, I'm going to rip off every hand that touched your mom or your grandparents. I'm going to do that even though I'm scared you're going to think I'm a monster. I've just gotten you over thinking all vampires are monsters, but I'm going to destroy everybody who's hurt your family, which, I mean, look, we don't want that in a real life boyfriend, but in our vampire boyfriend, yes, we do.
Yeah.
And then they definitely stop and have sex, which I guess they had to wait until 2 in the morning to get her mom, but they definitely are just like, well, we got some hours to kill, so.
They look real good in that spandex.
Now,
no, actually, you know what? She still had her grandparents' blood all over her.
Okay, she says they definitely have sex with her grandparents' blood.
She talks about it. She brings it up.
She's like, I'm not washing this off until I also have the blood of the people who did this to her on my hands. And I have to say, that sounds itchy. That sounds unhygienic. I would not want to fight with my grandparents' blood on my hands. I don't think.
Yeah.
But I've never been there. I don't know. I don't know how I'd respond. But this is really where Kat becomes like a murder quippy badass. Like, she's not the child anymore. And this girl who said, do you want to screw? It's just like, listen, motherfuckers. At this point. And it's great. I mean, she really at this point, Kat for me has turned a corner.
She did. She was a lot better, and the action, there was a lot more action this last couple chapters.
This is also the chapter.
My notes have stopped.
Okay.
So.
No, we're almost. I swear to God, we're almost done. This is where Bones needs a little top off because he's been expending a lot of energy. He needs a little more blood.
Yeah.
So they go to some bad part of Ohio, and
Columbus.
They're set on by a bunch of potential muggers. There's 4 of them, and Bones just whips his fist in a circle and takes all of them out with one punch.
I thought I had highlighted that. I wonder what happened to it because I was like, wow, it's the Stooges.
And then Natalie,
I'm ready.
She drinks his blood.
Oh, that's right. Because she needs to get stronger. So she actually, with her little square ass teeth,
just like
rips through his neck.
If I were Bones, I would have been like, wait just a second. Let me just get one of your knives.
Let me just open it up. No, she like gums him to his neck opens up. I didn't even think this was possible.
Listen, with Kat, anything is okay. It's Catherine Kathleen. She can do this. Kathy.
CNC.
So at first she doesn't like it. He's like, you gotta power up.
Like,
you gotta take my blood. And she's like,
and then she's like, yes, and she doesn't want to stop.
And Bones has to be like, get off me. But she feels the power up, and she feels like the splitting of his skin becomes pleasurable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was genuine. Okay,
you had to be there.
No, there were some groans in this room that I did not appreciate.
The mic will catch it.
Okay, good. Thank you. But no, so she understands, and so she's just like, what was that? And he says, it's like that everybody's first time, you were able to stop. It's gonna go away. Yeah. But this happens to vampires. But this whole chapter slapped. Yeah. So basically my notes at this point are just action. They walk into Hennessy's place to save Mom. Bones tells her.
They don't walk in. She drives a car through that motherfucking building.
She really does.
She slams like vampires with the car, and then she's like pew pew pew, throwing knives.
She punches through people's chests. She has a rib cage dangling off her arm.
She literally punches through a guy's chest and then punches another guy with the guy on her arm.
She uses a head like a bowling ball to knock other vampires.
It is wild.
And so before she's gone in, she's called the cops and been like, my name is Kat. I did that to those cops. Come and get me. And at some point the cops come bursting in like, everybody, for what the fuck?
There's just like body parts, and she's just throwing everything. And then the cops take her.
She kills Hennessy. She does manage to kill Hennessy, so suck it, trafficker.
Yeah, and then there's one more guy that takes off running. His name is Switch.
Bones goes after Switch. Yeah. The cops arrest Kat. So she ends up in a car with a cop who's like, I'll take you to, and then it clearly does not, because he is on the take for the governor of Ohio.
The governor of Ohio is evidently a criminal mastermind.
She says, my God, I voted for him. I'm telling you, she gets better. And so this bad cop, so she grabs this bad cop by the balls and just twists, and the whole time in the audiobook, the audio is just like, okay, so then the governor says.
So he was originally he has a bomb in the trunk.
Okay, so he says Hennessy agreed that he will clean the riffraff, like the crime,
the prostitutes, the drug users, drug dealers, the homeless people. So the governor
can say, I'm tough on crime. Yeah. And then the governor hides the paperwork on these missing girls. Mm-hmm. So it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, if scratching is murdering vulnerable people.
Yeah.
And so then the governor's plan is, all right, this has gone sideways. We have witnesses. So we're going to kill Kat, kill Bones, and then we're going to set off a bomb at the hospital where the survivors were taken.
Yes, all the survivors
And he says, Natalie, this is my favorite part of this book. He says he's going to then blame the Muslim extremists because it worked for George W. Bush after 9/11. And y'all,
this is 2007.
I have never seen George W. Bush's name in a romance novel before.
Yes. What?
And I never want to see it again.
Nobody asked for this.
Nobody asked for this.
If I've ever been wondering if they thought that the governor of Ohio was a Republican, I now know.
Now I know. So she's like, well, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so she makes him take her to the mansion where they're having some kind of gross sex exploitation party. Yeah. She takes off her shirt and her bra and is just shirtless in the back seat.
She's got wounds.
Yeah, like
she puts her hair to cover her bullet holes. That's what she says.
Yeah,
but her tits are out.
And so the guard is like, "Who you got there? All right, go on through.
Yeah.
Hey, high five." And so, and she says, "You know what? Being underestimated is the greatest thing ever." Which again. She's working her strengths. They don't think she's going to be a murder machine. And in fact, when she gets there, the governor is like, I got this one. Y'all can go.
Yeah.
And so she recognizes that he is the big bad. She snaps his neck, and then she surrenders to the cops who show up and they arrest her.
Well, she does fight off. And if for those longtime listeners of Heaving Bosoms out there is much tits out fighting. So she fights off an entire because she got vampire smells, so she can smell exactly and hear the heartbeats of how many people are in there. And so she tits out fights against all these people, kills the governor of Ohio, obviously evil mastermind governor of Ohio.
Among us hasn't shirtless killed a governor?
And then surrenders, and then we find out that Ohio specifically has a branch of the FBI that, or I guess it would be the United States, that is
paranormal. It's paranormal investigation.
It's X-Files. And like,
but
and
like
so,
dicks.
yeah. And like, but it's like,
and not a Fox Mulder dick.
yeah, like this is Don, and Don, right?
Yeah, his name is
Don.
for sure Don.
Yeah, and Don is kind of like halfway retired, ex-smoker, like yellow teeth, like beer belly, but he's running this elite team of like ex-army sergeants that
Natalie, white men fail upward. It's fine.
But you know that all of these guys were like dishonorably discharged from something.
And
you know what I mean?
He's got a bodyguard with him named Trent. So Kat wakes up.
Troy.
I thought
Trent?
it was Trent.
Oh. Tate?
It's
Oh.
coming in clutch from the audience.
How many facts have we gotten wrong?
Have you been holding off on other corrections? Because you got to tell us.
You've done very well.
He's got a bodyguard whose name shall be
Starts with T.
T Money. I don't know. And so she's like chained to the bed, and Dawn says, "I know what you are. You're a half vampire. You're gonna join me, and you're gonna fight.
You're
and
gonna
she's like,
lead a team."
Well, but she says, "No, I don't know what you mean. I'm just an innocent girl.
Yeah.
I'm just an innocent girl." And he looks down at where all her bullet wounds are healed, and he's like, "Oh, really?" And he says to his bodyguard, name uncertain, "Hey, shoot her in the head." And in a flash, she like rips the thing off the wall and like whaps them both.
She kneecaps Don. She kneecaps. She breaks both of his knees.
His knees go backwards now.
And like this man does not get medical treatment. He's like, go get me a wheelchair. My arthritis is acting up.
He's real proud of her. He's like, great, you're gonna join us now, right?
Yeah. So her mom has made it out because her mom was kidnapped. We forgot to. Sorry, we don't give a shit about her mom.
Unfortunately, fine.
Yeah, her mom has been kidnapped, but her mom is fine. She's in the hospital with her, and they agree to take her and her mom.
Well. Yeah, her mom comes in because Donna's like, well, maybe your mom can talk some sense into you. And her mom comes in a wheelchair also for some reason and says, I know you're with that vampire. You're a whore for the undead. And it's like, she can't. There is nothing redeeming about Juanita Crawfield.
And Bones has saved her. Like, Bones made it a priority
to save this woman who hates him. So mom says, listen, I told the cops about your vampire lover. I want them to kill him. And Kat's like, okay, I forgive you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess. And so they do take her and her mom in a car to some location. I can't remember.
They're going to put them someplace safe.
And
but Kat agrees to join up, right? So Kat realizes, okay, so what happened? Kat realizes that her mom is never going to be safe. Yeah. People are going to be after her mom because Kat is now a known half vampire. And Bones is never going to be safe from her enemies, from the government. And so she says, if I work with you, will you keep my mom safe and keep Bones safe? Basically. Well, not Bones, but like her mom. She doesn't negotiate for Bones, but she has a plan for that. Yeah. And so they say 13 years. Work for us for 13 years. Yeah. Why 13?
There's a whole really weird, non-documented on paper discussion.
It's a verbal, like, you give me housing for my mom.
And it was a lot of numbers that, like, needed to be written down.
It was like 3 independent missions a year, but no more.
Yeah, it was wild. Okay. Yeah, there needed to be like a fact checker on that.
So she immediately just bosses up and is like, all right, I'm the boss. I get to pick my team. I get to do it. I was like, get it, girl.
Yeah.
So they put her and her mom into a car to take them to whatever location they're going to go to for Kat to start serving her 13 years with the FBI with her. And part of the thing is
down the highway.
And she says, they say no contact with your vampire lover. So no contact with Bones. And she's like, to save him, I have to do this. Yeah. I love him so much. I have to agree to this because that's how he's going to, because, it's one of those, don't talk to your guy, just make a decision.
Can pretend like they don't exist.
It's fine. I know what's best. Because, and she says, I'm not going to kill all vampires. I will not kill sippers. I will only kill killers, which I thought was nice. She was like, you can get other people to kill sippers. It's not going to be me. Yeah. So they're in a car going someplace. It's like a whole armed fleet of cars.
But they're like on the interstate.
Yeah. And who shows up in the middle of the highway? Bones.
Just like puts a shoulder down
and just like all the cars just
causes like a 60 car pile up
to save his woman who was
like miraculously everyone survives.
Everyone's fine. Including
her mom, who was wheelchair bound prior to this.
So
He flips whole cars over, Sarah.
Listen, his love was in danger.
Yeah, sure.
He's a 200-year-old vampire, which is younger than America. It's fine. It's fine.
And so then he carries her mom, and they...
Kat punches her mom out, which was a cheer moment because she was like, "Mom is going to say that I made this agreement with the government," so she just socks her mom in the jaw.
Yeah, she's afraid her mom's going to give it away. She doesn't want Bones to know about the deal yet.
Happy about punching women.
I mean, if it's your mom.
But this woman has called her a whore so many times. So many times. So Bones is like, I've made getaway plans. Here's an SUV. I bought this for you. It's under your fake ID. We're going to get out of town. We're going to take care of your mom. Like, Bones
He bought her a Volvo. The safest car on the road.
You know what? He was looking at airbag ratings.
Yes, exactly.
And he was just like, nothing but the best.
She can't die. I better get her the safest car. Brand new black Volvo. That's it.
I have good news, everybody. This is the final chapter. So Bones takes her mom and Kat to a hotel. Kat takes her mom into the bathroom.
No, he takes her to another ghoul's house.
Oh, that's right.
Rodney.
Right.
Rodney's house. Rodney makes her pancakes.
Listen.
Rodney locks her mom in the basement.
Is Rodney single?
Rodney's a dream guy.
He made pancakes and shut away her mom.
He eats mystery foods, but yes.
So she takes her mom into the bathroom. They turn on the shower so the mirror gets steamy. And Kat writes basically, he can hear you.
Yeah.
So that was like, again, Kat has gotten smarter.
She's having like a verbal conversation that's like you have
hey,
to
Mom,
trust
we have
me,
to
Mom.
do what she says.
Yes.
But in the mirror, she's just like, listen, we get ready to leave. I'm going to honor this agreement with the government. I got to keep him safe. But she and Bones do have one more
final
night together, and her mom's in the basement just like, you're not gonna do that with that vampire.
But
and
don't
she's
worry,
like,
Rodney has locked the bedroom door and then the basement door.
and she's like, why do these doors lock from the outside? You know what, it's okay.
Doesn't matter,
It's
but
okay.
the bed's fluffy. The bed's fluffy.
The bed is fluffy. And they say, and Kat and Bones have one more night. They say how much they love each other. And then Bones leaves to make final plans. And Kat is such a weirdo. She's just like, I love you. I'll always love you. And if Bones was at all smart, he'd be like, wait a second.
Yeah, she's
just
very
like,
obvious.
they'll never, I'll never forget you. And he's like, I'll be right back. And she's like, I'll never forget you. And he's like, okay, see you in 20.
Yeah. And then she gets on a helicopter. She basically has convinced Don, who's still alive
and in a wheelchair with his backward kneecaps.
Yes, and has convinced him that this body of Switch that Bones had killed has convinced him. She puts Bones' jacket on. That's the only way we would know.
She takes Bones' jean jacket, which honestly, if you're doing Spike fanfic, use the leather jacket.
Didn't you hear about her birthday present or Christmas present that she got him? That was a full-length leather jacket. She got it for Bones for Christmas, but she never was able to give it to him.
That's true. You know, so he's gonna get the Spike wear later. It's fine. It's fine. So she dresses up Bones, or Switch's body as Bones. Don says, "Okay, Bones is dead.
We believe you.
We believe you." So she's gonna be the team leader. And she basically, her thought process is, the Red Reaper's ready for all you bloodsucker. Like, let's do this. Yeah. And she did leave Bones a note explaining things. But then she remembers when he said to her when they first met, if you run from me,
I'll chase you and I'll find you.
And that's how the book ends.
And it's a cliffhanger.
It's a cliffhanger.
And I was not ready.
We betrayed you all.
I know. But from what I understand, I read a lot of articles about this. And from what I understand, like books 2 and like further on are years later. Yeah. So like... Right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm consulting our in-house expert. It is Tate. I did go to that page and see it, so we were both wrong. Tate Bradley.
Tate Bradley?
I think. Yes.
Tate Bradley. He wears his collars popped.
Yeah.
It's fine. So Kat's going to lead her team, and we're going to have all kinds of adventures.
SEAL Team 6.
SEAL Team Kat. Catherine, Kathleen. So that's
it. Do you have a lady love?
I do.
Go for it.
Okay, so Aaron and Mel started this podcast because they were best friends. And then through this podcast, I met you. And now you're one of my best friends, Natalie. And I'm so grateful.
Oh my gosh,
I get to do
that
this
was
with
rude.
you.
I love you too.
I love you so much.
Yeah, and now we're sitting here together. We met through this podcast, and now we're sitting here together on this podcast.
Please tell me your lady love is cheese.
Oh my God, my lady love was maybe going to be cheese. No, okay. So I've had a wild week. I had like lots of like real estate related issues that came up this week, and that's not a lady love. at all. Actually, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's been a very, very wild week where lots of things were up in the air. And I was able to come and keep this as like a bright light at the end of my week to kind of keep me going and make sure that I could get here. And then this morning I made bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. And
Tell
that's
me
my lady
about
love.
them. Did you make the biscuits?
I didn't. I used refrigerator biscuits.
No, that counts as making. Did you take them from the fridge and introduce them to heat?
Yeah, I heated them
Bet
in
you
the
made those
oven.
biscuits.
Yeah. I made bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. I had leftover bacon in my fridge. I didn't even have to make the bacon. I just heated it up. And I ate like hot breakfast.
You did
on
it.
the Saturday before this event.
You did it.
Oh, but then I got a haircut.
Look at this
And
pretty woman.
And I went and got a haircut. And I was telling that is actually what's supposed to be Lady Love, and I forgot. But I got a haircut from a new person, and I met him truly this morning. I'd only talked to him on the phone, and he was like, "So what are you doing today? You said you have a live event." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to talk about this vampire book. And did you know that vampires have pink sperm?" And I truly had not met this man until today.
How did he do?
He was like, "Oh, okay." Totally rolled with it. We talked about sperms for a little while. There's an old poll in the cult about what happens when a vampire comes, and like there was a bunch of. Do you remember this, Jen? Yeah. There was a bunch of suggestions, like, is it a puff of dust? Does it unfurl a flag that just says like "come"? And
blanks.
yeah, like, and so like, but now we know without a doubt it's pink goo.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everybody. So that's my lady love is just coming in full force with a new person that's now going to cut your hair until the end of time, potentially.
There you go. Or block your number immediately because, it's going to be in there as Natalie Pink Vampire Come.
Yes. Natalie will talk about sperm. So that's it.
That's it.
Thank you,
for
everybody,
being
here in this audience. We tried to keep it to a tight hour, but here we are. Now we're in 45 minutes in.
Tight 2.
Keep being a badass.
And love yourself like you love someone who
fucks like a Trojan. Whatever that means.
I don't know.
To you.
I want, and you define that in your heart.
Yeah,
in your
exactly.
Heart, you decide what that means.
Good luck with those splinters.
Good luck with all those little men inside the big man.
Yeah. Maybe you wanted to have sex with a horse, but really you wanted to have sex with hundreds of men.
Somebody take the microphones away.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.